Like, this is called the Pesky Report. Like,
welcome back to the Pesky Report. This is episode 590 of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. This episode is also brought to you by TJ Stats, advanced MLB stats and tools, including pitcher summaries, prospect rankings, and live pitch data. Head on over to tjstats.ca and use code PESKY, PESKY, for 25% off your first month. And remember, that is tjstats.ca, not .com. As always, here on the Minor League Show, my name is Derrik. I'm here with Hunter. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to start in Worcester, and I'm going to just jump straight into it. Alan Castro had a really nice week. Got to start there. It's interesting. I've had a little bit of a weird year with Alan Castro because Hunter will know this. It feels like every single time I go to Worcester, he struggles. I think the first 2 games I was there in Worcester, I think he went like 0 for 9 with like 8 strikeouts or something. I'm hoping on maybe going tomorrow to Worcester, so like today as of recording. So we'll see if the hot week carries over and maybe he doesn't struggle while I'm there. But really good week for him. 9 for 23, a double and a homer for him, 2 walks and just 3 strikeouts. Also stole a base this week. For a guy who's 23 years old, who had never touched AAA pitching before this year, it feels like he's kind of starting to maybe turn things around. If you go month by month, the 3 games in March, he had 1 hit. Then in April, he hit 203 with a 542 OPS. In May, it was 227 with a 682 OPS. And then now in the month of June, so far, he's played 16 games. He's hitting 293 with a 736 OPS. Very much feels like the comfortability is starting to come in AAA. He's getting used to the pitching. He's seeing it more often. Does help that the weather's heating up. That'll help too. But it feels like he's really settling in AAA. Is he blowing anyone's socks off? No, he's not. The power hasn't fully kind of came in yet in AAA. Like I mentioned, he's hitting 293 in the month of June, but he's still got a 736 OPS. But it is a plus. It's a positive. And he's hitting 293 over the month. That's still very impressive. And all that does come with good defense in the outfield, a really good arm in the outfield. And he's a switch hitter. I mean, how many switch hitters do we see now? I feel like the Red Sox haven't had a full-time switch hitter, I don't think, that's played like 100 games or more in a season since Pablo Sandoval. Pablo Sandoval's so forgettable, I called him Patrick Sandoval. That tells you all you need to know. So just kind of switch hitter, something the Red Sox really haven't had in a while or seen at a full-time scale. And then you're adding in, he's still only 23 years old. He's really starting to kind of heat up, you could say. He's getting more comfortable in AAA. It's very nice to see. And as the president of the Alan Castro fan club, I'm not complaining. I like to see it. Now, hopefully, it'll just carry over when I'm actually in Worcester because, I'm waiting on an Alan Castro homer while I'm in person.
Yeah, can't help but notice that, you talk about how he struggles when you go to games, and then I go to games for a week and he has a big week. So, maybe just something to monitor, that seems to be a trend that I've noticed. Yeah, he had a monster week, like you said, 9 for 23 with a double and a homer, steals a base. Mikey Romero had a really nice week, 7 for 19 with a double, 3 RBIs. He drew just as many walks as he had strikeouts with 3 apiece. And then Tyler McDonough just went absolutely bananas. 7 for 17, a double, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. 333, 395, 667 slash line, 2 doubles, 3 homers since he's been promoted to AAA this year. Just 12 games at the level so far. But again, something I talked about last week, kind of just a weird year for him where I think it was like 2023 was the first time he ever really played in AAA. And then 2024, he kind of split time between the two levels. And then last year he played solely in AAA. And then this year it was just kind of one of those, hey, we have too many bodies. You're going to have to start the year in AA. So kind of almost like maybe felt a little disrespectful towards him that he had to start the year in AA, but it's good to see him make his way back there and put on a show so far, show that AAA is where he's always belonged. And then I did just want to say, got to talk to a couple of the coaches while I was there. Talked to Johnny Reyna, the AAA coach, the AAA hitting coach, obviously the AAA coach, but did do like a bonus pod with him, so I don't really need to discuss any of that. And then I talked to Robbie Britt, the field coordinator, who was actually the acting manager for the week. What they do is they have like mandatory breaks for the minor league coaches where they get like a week off. And Iggy Suarez, this was like his mandatory week off. Like, and apparently the way Robbie Britt was describing it to me made it sound like this was the planned week off that he was supposed to have in Portland. Or the way he described it, I was a little confused with the way he described it, but either way, this was planned before all the firings in the first place.
So it's planned when Iggy wasn't the manager, basically.
Yeah. Yes. And they just kind of stuck with it anyway. So Robbie Britt was the acting manager this week. Liam Carroll also had his week off down in Greenville, so he was not managing, which was kind of funny because there was a point in one of the Greenville games where I tweeted out a clip. I forget what it was, like someone hit a homer or something. And like a minute after I tweeted the clip, it said like Liam Carroll liked my post. And I just like, is he on Twitter while the game's playing? Because I didn't know at the time that he wasn't managing the game. It was like on Tuesday. And I was like, is he? And then like the next day I was talking to Robbie Britt and he was like, oh yeah, we're doing this thing where, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. Okay. But yes, I talked to Robbie Britt for a while. Awesome guy. Very knowledgeable. It's his first year in the system. And just a really good conversation. It was cool to hear him talk about a lot of the guys, not even in AAA. He seems to be like a big fan of Yoel Cespedes, for example. But just like, cause he worked with a lot of these guys in spring training too. So it's cool to see a lot of, especially like the minor league guys, because in spring training, they will work with the minor league guys. So it's cool to see them have these connections with players who then they aren't even working with yet in the minor leagues in the regular season. But yeah, so it was a good week overall for a lot of the hitters. But it was also a good week just to kind of connect with some of the coaches who I haven't really gotten to connect with in person before. But sadly, no Andy Tracy appearances this week. Who is no relation to Chad Tracy.
Yeah, it's always interesting, like the quirks in the minor leagues that sometimes too, like you don't even realize, even if you're paying attention to the minor leagues, or even like in our case where we cover them every week and didn't even realize that this was a thing. I'm sure if you're covering them and you're actually there like every day, every week, like, yeah, it's something you would know, but we're not there. And, it's not like the broadcast shows, the manager in the dugout every game. So it is an interesting little
oh my God
thing.
So I did have one issue though. I'm standing like next to the dugout. They're taking batting practice, and you ever just like get something stuck in your head and you can't stop doing it? So I'm just like completely zoning out because like as you're turning into the parking lot, there is a safe light, like giant billboard. And I keep seeing on TikTok that freaking E40 video of him. He has a new rap song out. And in the song, because he's E40 and he's the weirdest dude in the world, he has a line and it's just, he says something about how like they'll flip your car and then he goes, safe light repair, safe light replace. And he does this little hand movement and just for an hour, I was just zoning out watching like batting practice. And I just kept doing the hand motion and saying it. And I like looking back on it, people probably thought like, who is this psychopath just standing here watching batting practice doing this hand motion? And all of a sudden I hear, dude, look out, someone hit a line drive maybe 3 feet from my head, just hit the wall behind me. And I ended up, I got the baseball, but yeah, just line drive 2 feet from my head. And I'm just sitting there doing this hand motion and continuously shouting an E40 line because I'm 3 years old and get things stuck in my head and I can't stop. So that was me. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I should just stop going into the parking lot that way because apparently that sign's going to make me do it every freaking time. Yeah, I that's such an issue for me. If something gets stuck in my head, I don't know. The only way for me to get it out of my head is for me to get something new stuck in my head, which then I have the same problem. It's just with something new now stuck in my head.
See, I tend to just like talk to people typically when I'm like during batting practice, especially because I feel like on Fridays in Worcester is typically the day I've been going. I feel like that's where there's like more people because it's like on a Friday, like if someone's working and they want to get out of work and go use like if some like there's a couple other like people who like have like do other podcasts or whatnot that'll like show up on like a Friday. Where it's like I feel like if you get out of work, it's more likely you get out of work early on a Friday to go to Worcester than on like a Wednesday, for example. Also, too, Friday is the prime rib night in Worcester, so that does tend to draw some people in. I won't say any names, but there is someone who literally said that they literally come on Fridays just for the prime rib. Won't say any names, but there is someone, which I don't blame them because it is good.
Is it someone I would know?
Yes.
Okay. I won't take any guesses, but I'm gonna think about it.
But it's but no. And then there's even people. I remember I think it was on opening day. So there's a lot of media there on opening day, and it's like, yeah, the food's here better than even what they give at Fenway for the media people. I'm just like, so that means we're spoiled. It was nice. I like being a spoiled little brat. Like, yeah. But no, besides the point, back to everything. I typically in batting practice, I'm talking to people or whatever. Or I will just stand off to the side, and this is so funny. Sometimes if there's not a lot of people there, I'll just stand off to the side and I'll just be like, if you're not on video, if you're not watching the video, you won't see it, but I'll just basically be, oh, there goes that ball. Back to looking at home plate and just tracking the ball as it gets hit. Just constantly tracking, just turning my head to track the ball, just constantly. Just standing there, just enjoying the set, like the crack of the bat, basically. And I'm just standing there, and then I'll like end up like staring out and like, I'll start staring out into the outfield, and I'll be like trying to figure out who's out there shagging balls, and I'm like, I cannot tell. The good thing was like when like Tyron Guerrero was out there, it's like, oh, that's Tyron Guerrero because he's 6'8", like duh. Like now I'm looking out there and I'm like, I can't even tell who you are. I'm like, I don't know who you are out there, but you're shagging balls, and I'm like literally just staring out there trying to figure out who in the blue hell it is.
When I was talking to Robbie Britt, someone made like this incredible diving play up the middle, and everyone went nuts. And I was like, "Oh man, that was a crazy play." And he goes, "Yeah, that was our video editor. That's why everybody's going crazy." And I was like, "Oh, Okay, that would make more sense. Why, like, literally every single player like stopped what they were doing and just started going crazy. And I was like, that would make sense as to why everybody, like, it was a great diving catch, but like literally every single person started like stopped what they were doing and started going crazy. But yeah, I just like I was doing what you were doing, where like I'll watch the ball go, but it was just like, for all I know, someone was trying to talk to me. It's incredible how zoned out I was, just like watching the pitch, watching the hit, and watching it go while I was just sitting there doing the hand motion and mumbling to myself. It just, I'm an idiot sometimes.
I mean, I'll put myself in the idiot category too. But back to Worcester. I do want to jump over to the pitching side of things, just on well, sort of pitching. Well, actually, I'll do a little bit of a bridge with Nathan Hickey, who had a homer and had gotten out and out of the bullpen. But I'll just kind of start with like relievers, just because I feel like that's kind of like the best place for this week. Zach Kelly had a scoreless inning. Joe Sorsa in 2 appearances had pitched 2 1/3, scoreless. Wyatt Olds in 3 appearances pitched 2 2/3, scoreless. Tyler Samaniego in 2 appearances pitched 2 scoreless innings. Anel Bastardo in 2 appearances pitched 2 innings. He did give up a solo homer, but outside of that, no runs. And then Alec Gamboa in 2 appearances out of the bullpen, 5 innings, just 1 run. Also struck out 5 as well. And I guess we'll throw in Tyler Uberstein because he pitched 4 innings out of the bullpen and only gave up 1 run. So we'll call it a relief appearance, even though it was definitely more of a bulk appearance. But he did come out of the bullpen, so we'll include him that. So good week for the relievers / just guys coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, Tyler Uberstein, obviously working his way back. He pitched in high A last week. Kind of in the same Eduardo Rivera boat of, I don't really know what they're planning to do with them. Like, they were both used in bullpen roles when they were called up to Boston. But they've both been more starters in the minors. But then if they get called up to the Red Sox, they'll probably be called up in relief roles. So it's like Worcester could use starting pitchers, but they'll probably continue to use them out of the bullpen, just kind of keep them ready for those types of situations, but also they might want to keep them stretched out just in case. So I don't know. I think they're going to be kind of used in weird situations for kind of the rest of the season, which maybe isn't the greatest thing for their development, but I mean, the Red Sox are going to have to do what's best for them, which kind of sucks because this team's not exactly going anywhere this year. So doing what's best for the 2026 Red Sox isn't really the best for anyone at the moment. But yeah, it still makes sense team wise, I guess, but still kind of a sucky situation.
Yeah. I don't know what else do we have in Worcester. It was a good week, but like it wasn't like, I mean, kind of similar to the other thing we talked about last year. Not sort of like prospect performances, just kind of with how Worcester is and just AAAs in general.
I do just want to say Matt Tice and Jason DeLay hit triples in the same game, which is very funny to me because neither of them should ever hit triples, and they hit them in the same game.
Yeah, it's kind of BS. If you know, you know.
I feel like you haven't had any triple hate this year.
I haven't, but like
maybe we just haven't talked about him as much.
I think that, I mean, a triple, like obviously like Sung Chae Chang had the triple, but like it was part of a cycle. So like,
yeah, you're not going to hit on a triple cycle.
No, you're not. Like, yeah, like you're not. No, but like also too, I feel like in some ways like the whole thing with like too, like the whole hating triples thing. Like, do I actually hate triples? No, but like, am I a little bit jealous? Kind of, but like I hit a triple, and the only quote unquote triple I hit really should have been a double with an error. kind of like Bryce Harper's triple, in his cycle, really should have been a double and advanced on the throw because, let's be honest, if they threw that ball to third base, he was out by about 40 feet.
Yeah, the argument you could make is
I'm not going to say they should change it. I'm not saying they should change it.
He was already running to third before the throw was made would be the argument. So it's not like he started running, but yeah, he would have been out by 20 feet.
Yeah, it wouldn't even been close. No, you know how funny that would be? They say, we don't care about the run scoring. We're stopping you from getting the cycle. Just, nah, dude.
I mean, it was already a blowout. It would have been kind of funny.
It would have been. Well, I mean, it was funny because when Sung Chae Chang hit for the cycle, which, I mean, discussing him, he had 2 solo shots this week. He bunted for the single. He did end up on third because it was a throwing error, and I mean, he would have beat it out anyways. But any other time, if he's not going for a cycle, it was a very not appropriate time to bunt. It was 8th inning or so, 7th or 8th inning. The Woo Sox were up by 6, I think. Or maybe it was 5. Should not have bunted outside of the fact he was going for a single for a cycle. That was the only reason that made it a valid reason to bunt. But yeah, the triple also hasn't. I feel like there hasn't been as many triples, or they're just not as there's a difference when a guy gets 2 hits in the week and one of them is a triple. Or when I say 2 hits, it doesn't mean the guy played all 6 games and only got 2 hits. He might have only played 1 game. Versus where a guy has 10 hits in a week and just the guy hits 2 or 3 triples in a week. Okay, calm it down, a little bit much. Yeah, that's I think that's pretty much everything for Worcester. Like I say, we'll just kind of run through it. Like I said, obviously the Chang and McDonough both had 2 homers. Vinny Capra, Alan Castro, Max Ferguson, and Nathan Hickey were the other home run hitters for Worcester. Yeah, I'll also just throw out Anthony Siegler, went 6 for 18 this week. Not a ton of power, only the 1 double as his extra base hit, but only 2 strikeouts, walked twice, and stole a base. So, still pretty good week. One of the it's funny, by OPS this week, he had one of the lower OPSs this week for the Woo Sox. Still a damn good week. And I will also shout out Braden Ward because he stole 3 bases, friend of the show. Stole 3 bases this week. With that, though, I think it's a good time to move on. Let's bump down to Salem. We're going to talk about the Salem Ridgeacs. Once again, I still don't know what a Ridgeac is, but it's fine. I just okay. Here's the thing: when's the last time you saw a yak canoeing on the ridge? I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's bad because it's not. My biggest gripe is just could we have used some more fun colors? Nothing against the blue and the 2 different shades of blue, but I feel like every minor league team is red, blue, or black and some sorts of black and white in there. Come on, not saying it would have fit, but where's a yellow or something, or or I don't know, a green, I mean, maybe not green's not the best answer, but a purple or an orange. I don't know. Throw something fun, or even you don't want to go all the way to purple, do indigo, right? A little bit more fun. Besides that, we should probably start on the pitching side here in Salem. There were a few good performances, and I say a few, it's definitely more than a few. In Salem, they had 9 pitchers this week give up just 1 earned run or less, and out of those 9 pitchers, 8 of them went at least 2 innings. So I'll just kind of read it through and I'll let you go, Hunter. But Leighton Finley had a 5-inning start where he only gave up 1 hit, no runs, struck out 6. Jason Gilman, 3 1/3 innings, no runs, did walk 5, but still didn't give up any runs. Cole Tolbert, 3 innings, 1 unearned run, but no hits. Brady Tiger, 2 1/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs. Harry Blum, 4 innings, just the 1 earned run on 1 hit. He did walk 2 and hit 2, but he struck out 6. And like I said, only gave up the 1 run. Jacob Myers, 3 2/3 innings, just the 1 run on 2 hits, struck out 6. He did walk more and hit 1 as well. Barrett Morgan, 4 innings start, 2 runs, only 1 of them earned, struck out 6. And then Jose Bayo did give up 2 runs in 2 2/3, but only 1 was earned. And then he did give up 2 earned in 4 innings, but I will shout out Griffin Killander, who struck out 10 in those 4 innings. I think I mentioned it last week. It's always impressive when you strike out the majority of your outs. So not the cleanest outing there, but he struck out 10 in 4 innings. Still very impressive. I hand it over to you, Hunter. I just threw out a lot of names. But who's someone who really kind of stood out on the pitching side of things to you in Salem this week? Hunter just put a finger up. Uh-oh.
Nothing important.
Damn. I will just mention this because we'll talk about it when we get to Portland. There was like a 0.1% chance in my head. I'm like, what if Hunter just got scooped off on Franklin Arias getting promoted? We will talk about it in Portland because I'm not expecting it to happen, but at the same time, Jack Winay did get promoted. So an infielder moving up to Portland. It doesn't necessarily mean Arias is getting moved up because I don't think it will, but it's something interesting on that front, I guess. I guess on the Arias front, it gets more offensive support in Portland with Winay, but also too we are a little bit on the Arias clock of okay, when I guess you could say when does he get promoted at this point? We talked about it last week. I mentioned it. I think your best bet is probably the All-Star break, but besides that,
I was trying to send you. I forgot to send it to you, so it's my fault. And I was just trying to send it to you. Braden Shank, the Salem's announcer, sent me a Dropbox of. It's a pronunciation guide of all the Salem players.
Yes.
And basically because we suck at it. So it is Griffin Kylander, for example.
There we go.
It is Givian Cervania.
God.
Yeah.
Still gonna screw it up.
But so I was just trying to send it to you, but for some reason it wasn't letting me sign in.
It's fine.
I'll send it to you after. But,
every single time Hunter puts a finger up like that, I'm like, okay, who's getting promoted? Every single time that happens.
The second you started talking about the players, I was like, oh my God, I never sent it to him. So then I was trying to get it sent quickly, and I was like, of course, now it keeps telling me I can't sign in. But
that's fine. Although it is funny though. I think the last time you stopped us right in the middle as you were talking about something, I think was a promotion.
I think it was, but that was of course terrible timing by me, but
it's fine. It's totally fine. A lot of good performances there at Salem this week, Hunter. Who you got? Who was the one who really stood out?
Honestly, for me, I was a big fan of what Cole Tolbert did this week. 3 innings, didn't allow a run, didn't allow a hit, just 1 unearned run, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's been really impressive this year. Hasn't really gotten a ton of time, just 6 games, 5 starts, 17 2/3 innings. But it feels like we're getting a lot of impressive outings, and this is just another one of those where we're in this weird spot with Salem. I brought it up last week where there's just nothing offensively. So the pitchers really need to step up. It's kind of the same thing with the Boston Red Sox where it's hey, the pitchers have to perform. And it's Tolbert was in a situation where he gave up an unearned run without giving up a hit. He only walked 1 guy. So it's not oh man, he went out there and walked 5 people and it's his fault. Oh man, and he did his job. So like that was very impressive to me. And then the other one was Finley going out there, the 5 innings, 1 hit. He did walk 4, but 6 strikeouts, no runs. To me, those were the 2 most impressive outings of the week. And both of those guys are really starting to put together really strong seasons.
Yeah, Finley's interesting just for me, just because like he has kind of struggled, whether it's been at times, whether it's been walks or just kind of giving up too many hits. He's got a whip near 150, I think, which I know whip isn't like it's not like a crazy stat or anything, but like it's sometimes a stat like whip being as simple and kind of stupid as it is, um, can be useful. Because like yeah, like realistically, like, okay, you're averaging walks plus hits per inning pitched. Like when it's near 1.5, that basically means every inning you're almost a walk to allow a base runner. On like, if you're playing the numbers, you're basically a lock to give up. Which I understand. Like, yes, it's really like most pitchers, your whip isn't going to be below 1 or anywhere close to below 1 or even closer. Even if you're just slightly above 1, it's really good. But when you're pushing 1.5, it very much is like it's definitely a little bit high. But even with that, over the course of this year, he's still had himself a good year, and his ERA I think is like around 350. I think it is somewhere around. I think it's 342. The whip actually is 148. So even with that, he's still been getting outs. He's still been limiting the damage for the most part, and that's one of those things too. I think when you look at a guy like in Salem and you go, okay, maybe he's walking too many guys, or maybe he's struggling with kind of allowing too many base runners here and there. Now you kind of start to wonder, okay, if you kind of limit some of the free passes, like for example in this start, the 4 walks, for example, but he only gave up 1 hit in 5 innings, right? So there's a lot to like there, and yeah, the 4 walks is not ideal. But when you're only giving up 1 hit in 5 innings, no runs, it's a very good appearance. Other than that, I don't know how much. Obviously, there are a lot of good appearances, but the one person who interests me in Salem, and I do want to bring this up, just because it's been such a weird. I don't know if I want weird's the right word, but it's been a rough tenure for him. And that's Brady Tiger, and it's not any of his doing. Obviously he's been injured. He's dealt with that. He's only pitched 7 innings in Salem so far this year. And in those 7 innings, he's given up 3 hits, 3 runs. He struck out 12. He has walked 6 and hit a guy. Hasn't given up any homers. I think the biggest thing so far with him has been the command, the walks, and or the hit batters. We saw him last year get a start in Greenville at the end of the year, and that was a start where he went 4 innings and only gave up 1 run, and he struck out 5 without walking or hitting anyone. So the thing is, when Brady Tiger's pitching good, right, and when he's fully healthy, especially too, I feel like as we get later in the year, as he pitches more, he'll start to kind of lengthen out a little bit too. But when Brady Tiger's on, like this is a guy who, like I said, that started in Greenville last year, 4 innings, no walks, only gave up the 1 run, struck out 5, right? Like, and like I said, it's still early. He's only pitched in 3 games so far in Salem this year. But when he's healthy, like there's a lot to like there. There's a reason that, yeah, he was a 12th round pick in 2024, but the Red Sox went over slot on him. And after the 10th round, it's not really like slot. It's $150,000 for every pick, but they went over that $150,000. I think they gave him, I think it was $300,000, which is basically double. I'm gonna double check that right now. Yeah, they gave him $300,000. So they went they gave him $150,000 extra basically to sign him. And the thing that you have to remember with a guy like Tiger is, like, coming out of Arkansas, his junior year in Arkansas, he had a 3.94 ERA in 14 games. He struck out 69 guys in 59 innings, but he did struggle with command. 36 walks, 15 hit batters. Right, the pitch mix is good, but you do wonder about the control with him and the command. And then obviously the health has been an issue so far. But even at 23, he doesn't turn 24 until January of next year. And there isn't a ton of innings on his arm. When you kind of break it down, he pitched 19 and a third innings last year. He's barely pitched this year. In 2024, he didn't pitch with the Red Sox after he was drafted. And then he had the 59 innings I think it was actually a redshirt sophomore year, technically. Potentially. Well, actually, I don't know about that. It says he was a 2023 freshman all SEC, but that doesn't make sense because he pitched more in 2022. But regardless, he only had maybe 115, 120 college innings in 3 years. Off doing math, a little bit of math off the top of my head. Maybe at the most, I think it would be 125 if my math is a little bit off. So even then, but even with that, in the last, 5 seasons, including this season, he's pitched. He hasn't even touched 200 innings, right? So yes, the injury is concerning, yes, but there's not a lot of mileage on his arm, and when he's on, like I said, that Greenville start last year, we've seen him pitch very well. Yes, the command might always be an issue with him, but there is stuff to like, and I think you kind of look like this week, right, in his start. No runs in 2 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts. He did walk 2, but overall, that's a start with Tiger where you look at it and you go, okay, that might be a start, right? And it might be a start for him. And it's only, it's only 2 and what was it? What did I say? 2 1/3 innings. It's only 2 1/3 innings, but got to start somewhere, right? And like I said, he's been injured. He's had his injury issues. He's only pitched in 3 games this year, right? So can't be expecting him to go 4 or 5 innings. But as he kind of builds in, as he pitches more, as the season starts to go on, that I think Tiger is someone to definitely keep an eye on, because it wouldn't shock me at all if even somewhat soon we see him in Greenville, because in all honesty, when you kind of look at Greenville and you look at kind of that rotation, there are guys there where, you do wonder how long they are going to be in Greenville with a guy like Kyson Witherspoon, for example, where, has he had the craziest year? No, but it's very reasonable to believe he's in Portland by the end of the year. You look at someone like a JoJo Ingracia, which, he's, whether or not he's a starter long term, who knows? But he's got a 152 ERA in Greenville this year, right? How long can you keep someone like him in Greenville, right? So Tiger's definitely someone where wouldn't be shocked to see him in Greenville, and it wouldn't shock me if it was even in July, for example. Just because like I said, he had that start in Greenville last year. He pitched in college, and it's not like he went to, not like he went to some little tiny school somewhere. He went to Arkansas. Wouldn't shock me. It's good to see, because we haven't seen him much since the Red Sox drafted him. And he was someone who, coming out of that draft, I think was ranked in the 170, 180, 190 range by some of the bigger draft rankings. So the fact that they got him in the 12th round, and then, like I said, he's had the injury issues. It's nice to see him have a good appearance, and hopefully it's something you can build on, because we know the talent's there, the pitch mix is there, the command, as I've talked about in the past, can be improved, right? And now it's just about keeping him healthy. That's the biggest thing for him. Keep him healthy.
Can't disagree.
Definitely. Anything else we want to touch on in Salem on the pitching side of things?
Not on the pitching side.
I don't think so. There's not much on the hitting side.
Not much on the hitting side, no.
Andrew Zapata, friend of the show, did hit a home run.
Mm-hmm.
He also doubled. There wasn't much else from even an extra base hit department in Salem. Evanson Pinto had a double. Skylar King had a pair of doubles. And so did Ilan Fernandez had a pair of doubles.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Literally it. I mean, Claymore Salazar had 5 hits, also drew 3 walks. Good week for him.
Yeah, the team had 6 doubles and a homer. That's pathetic.
Yeah. Andrew Mussett in 4 games. He He only had 2 hits, but he walked 5 times, right? Like, that's nice. Anderson Fermin had 5 singles and he walked 3 times, right? But like, there's just not a lot of pop, right? Which we mentioned it, and I feel like we're going to mention. We're just mentioning it again. There's not much offense in Salem. You already mentioned it, Hunter. There's just not much there right now, and you know, they're kind of in this spot. It happens in the minor leagues. We haven't had it happen much to many teams since we've started the show, but this isn't like a totally abnormal thing. When you look at that roster, especially too with like the moving of like Andy Azakar and Luke Kamen up to Greenville, there just really isn't anyone there, right? And that's okay, right? I think we have to remember that's okay, right? And when I say there isn't anyone there, I mean there isn't that high-end prospect there. There isn't that guy who's carrying the offense. And that's totally fine, right? You know, by the end of the year, we might have some of the FCL guys in Salem, right? Maybe it's a couple guys who got drafted, but not every level in the minor leagues is going to be like absurd in talent. I think too, we've been a little bit spoiled over the last few years where we haven't had really a level, maybe outside of Worcester, because it's just been big league depth a lot of the time. At times, we haven't really had a level where it's like the offense has just been, in all honesty, as a whole, bad for weeks at a time. Kind of probably we might be pushing on like a month plus now at this point. I feel like. Really since the Andy Azakar call up to Greenville. But it's fine, right? This is things that happen in the minor leagues, right? I got your best player gets promoted to the next level, and your lineup kind of just falters, and now your second best hitter arguably gets promoted, and now there isn't much left. It's a very young team. They're in Salem, right? It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, obviously you'd love to see all these guys hitting homers and whatnot, but this happens in minor league baseball, right? It's kind of the kind of process of development, right? You see one level we'll get to Greenville and Portland. They had very, very, very good weeks this week at the plate. But then like I said, you look at Salem and not much, as we've kind of touched on here, but it happens, right? It's the minor leagues. You got 150 something players throughout the minor leagues. Not every one of them is going to be a world beater. I wish every one of them could be Mike Trout and Juan Soto and etc. But it's just not possible. It's not possible. But I don't know. I feel like that's pretty much it on Salem, in all honesty. I wish there was more. But I think that's about it. So it is a good time, I think, to kind of make the move now to where the 2 levels that did have big weeks.
I did just want to throw out a couple things. You kind of touched on some of it, but I did just want to throw out because you kind of talked about like the how there's like it kind of happens at some point throughout the system, and it does feel like Salem's at that point, and they have like some pieces where Justin Barry's there now, and he went 2 for 10 with a steal this week, and it's his first week there, and he might figure it out a little bit. He did struggle in the FCL, so you can't like sit here and bank on him to go crazy. Luis Andujar's really struggled since getting there, and he absolutely could figure it out. Like this is a teenager. It's crazy to give up on him after 60 at bats in single A. But it also is like Brian Abraham just did an interview with Section 10, and they asked him about Franklin Primera, and something he said was like, "Oh, there's some things we still think we need him to work on," and that could just be like the corporate answer of we're like they just haven't promoted him yet, and it's just like the PR answer of why he hasn't been promoted yet. But it could also be a genuine, there's things that need to be worked on. And it's like, yes, Premier is a different level of prospect than Andujar, sure. But it's also a cautionary tale of like, you can't expect these teenagers to go up there and, yeah, sure, they're hitting 400 in the FCL, but you can't expect them to just go up there and become world beaters right away. But yeah, I think we're just going to kind of have to suffer through Salem's offense not being phenomenal for a little bit. We'll get some weeks where, you know, Andrew Zapata has a great week, or, you know, D'Angelo Ortiz hits 350, or, you know, Cliver Salazar's been really good. Andrew Musette is going to get on base a ton. Ian Fernandez will get on base a decent amount. Anderson Fermin will get on base a decent amount. Skylar King has some pop. You know, like there's pieces there. They'll usually get a ton of steals. They really didn't this week, just because the guys that did get on base a lot were the guys that aren't very fast. But yeah, like Adonis Guzman's been good since he got sent down. So like there's a little bit there. It's just not the most exciting group, and hitting in Salem for half of their games certainly doesn't help. But yeah, just if you're looking for offense, it's not coming in Salem.
Yeah, like I said, totally fine, right? It's, you know, there are a lot of young guys there too, right? You know, let's take a jump here to Portland here. We saved Portland for last week, so we'll bump them up to, you know, second to last. That doesn't mean that, you know, our order doesn't have anything to do with how well or bad the teams do. Like this week, we did want to touch on Worcester and Salem just because we spent a lot of time the last month, really the entire season, just Greenville and Portland constantly, right? But Portland, obviously Roman Gonzalez rehabbing was a thing, but I hate to be like, well, let's talk about Franklin Arias, but in some ways, we gotta talk about Franklin Arias. You gotta get, also too, let's be fair too. Let's just be totally fair. Franklin Arias, top 5 prospect in baseball, and also too, in some ways, if we don't touch on him now at the start of Portland, we're eventually just gonna have to circle back to him anyways. So not to say let's get him out of the way, but like get him out of the way, because regardless, we have to talk about him regardless, because what he's doing is insane. There's no other way to put it. This week he went 6 for 21, 3 doubles. He had a homer. He struck out 6 times and walked 3 times. He also stole a base. And for the season, Arias 315, 395 on base percentage, 579 slug, 974 OPS. He's got 13 doubles, a triple, 14 homers. He's walked 25 times compared to just 35 strikeouts. He's stolen 5 bases. He's been intentionally walked already 4 times this year. And he's now at 57 games in Double-A. And I've made the Bogarts comp before, not as like a player-to-player comp, but I mean, in some ways kind of player comp, in some ways just in terms of like when Bogarts was a prospect, like the hit tool was his best thing, but he didn't have like the elite standout tool. Arias in some ways is similar, right? The hit tool definitely is really, really good, but it's not I don't see it as like I remember when like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was a prospect and they're like, oh, 80 grade power, right? Like his season that, you know, would have been an MVP season if not for Shohei Ohtani being the best person to ever touch a baseball, the best player to ever touch a baseball. Like Vladdy that year was like, oh yeah, that's why he got 80 grade power, right? Also, 80 grade hit tool is arguably like, yeah, you better be like Luis Arraez didn't have an 80 grade hit tool, and the guy was won how many batting titles? Just so more so the point I'm making, where having like Arias doesn't have the elite of the elite tools, right? The hit tool's very, very good. Very, very, very good. But it's not like Arias isn't hitting 400 in Double-A, right? Not saying he should be hitting 400 double A. If he was hitting 400 double A, he wouldn't be in double A. But like the thing with like Bogarts to Arias, like both of them do everything well. There isn't a thing where they're just not good, right? And I think a lot of people maybe knock Bogarts, especially later on with his defense. Arias isn't like Arias's defense is probably better than what Bogarts' was. I don't know what Bogarts' like scouting grades were. That was also a long time ago. I could go look them up, but that's a little bit more work that I would like to do right this second. But you know, both shortstops, Bogarts obviously taller, right? But like both do everything. There isn't really anything that they do bad, right? Which is good, like all around, just good, right? And you do have a couple things with like both of their hit tools being their best tools. Yeah, not the same type of player, but like the general like idea of like a good all around player does everything good. Also, too, both start their age 20 seasons in Double A. Bogarts, I think it was like, if I remember, it's like 60 games approximately or something like that. That he had in Double A before getting the move up to Triple A. Arias is now at 57. Not saying it's happening with Arias. Bogarts was also how many regimes ago, right? It was way back when Charrington was the general manager, right? We've gone through, well, it's our third head of baseball ops since Ben Charrington with Craig Breslow. So very much, you know, not expecting Arias to follow that same timeline, but it is an interesting reference point because if you kind of look at the season and where the season's at right now, we're what, 2 or 3 weeks, 3 weeks, I think, away from the All-Star break, right? You look at that and you go, in 3 weeks, if Arias plays maybe 15 or so, not 15, maybe like 18 or 19 games, you know, he'll, and maybe he ends up around 75 games this year in Double A, and then All-Star break, maybe we are seeing an Arias promotion then, right? That seems reasonable. Very much so. And also the All-Star break is also kind of a time where I feel like a lot of teams like to promote prospects. Because at this point with Arias, it really isn't if, it's more so when. So in that case, you know, like I said, the numbers have been insane. And I think the other thing to notice too, he's not doing this on like an absurd BABIP or anything. He's got a 320 BABIP, which like sometimes like if you see a guy hitting, you know, like Arias hitting 315, like I think like the Tim Anderson years, right? Where Tim Anderson was hitting over 300, but he had basically like a 400 BABIP. And I remember saying to people like, this isn't going to last. Like, there's no way a guy can have a BABIP near 400 and it lasts. And it didn't. And by Jose Ramirez, but it didn't last. Franklin Arias, that 320 BABIP is somewhat indicative of like, okay, like it's not like he's getting lucky and everything's falling in for a hit. So I think in that sense too, you also have to look at it and go, okay, like this isn't just, and also too, it's also been what, how many, we're almost at the end of June. This isn't like a couple good weeks anymore. This is a couple of really, really good months. We're at basically 3 really good months of him in Double A. There's only so much more he can prove. So in that sense, yeah, odds are we will see a Franklin Arias promotion. It's just more of a question of when. But there isn't a rush either. That's the biggest thing to know.
Yeah, I think one of the funniest parts about Franklin Arias' week is that he started through the first 3 games technically. He was 0 for 11 with 3 walks. And then the last 2 games that he played, he went 6 for 10 with the 3 doubles and the homer. So like it started off very, very, very poorly for him. And one of those walks was even, as you mentioned, he's been intentionally walked a couple times this year. One of those was an intentional walk in the 9th inning, which I very much hated. I do not understand intentionally walking in the minor leagues. You're trying to get these players to become better players. And I just don't know what intentionally walking someone does. Like I get it, you're trying to win the game, but like it doesn't help Franklin Arias get better, which I know like the Somerset manager doesn't care about Franklin Arias getting better, but don't you care about like your pitcher getting better? And it's like, hey, go face their best prospect instead of facing not their best prospect. And guess what? Stanley Tucker took offense to it and hit a walk-off double. So now you look like a coward and you still got walked off. So that didn't go well for you. But yeah, it was a funny week because it started off looking like it was going to be just a god awful week for Franklin Arias, and then it ended up being just another really good Franklin Arias week. Going 6 for 10 with 3 doubles and a homer in your last 2 games certainly will turn a week around. Like you said, there's clearly a promotion coming for him at some point. Don't know when it's happening. It feels like the fact that he started a game at second base on, I think it was Saturday, maybe it was Sunday, one of the two. First time all year that he started a game at second. I think he played like 7 games at second base or something like that last year, like 15 games. It was not a lot of games, but he played some games at second base last year. Feels like that might have something to do with a promotion coming soon. Like, doesn't feel like that just came out of the blue, because it's not like they did it because obviously not Henry Godbout, because Henry Godbout's injured. But let's just say like, oh, Henry Godbout got called up and they were like, okay, and like Marvin Alcantara, who's been playing second base all year, they put him at shortstop. It's not like it was like, oh, the rehabbing Romy Gonzalez was playing shortstop. That would have been a much better example. Don't know why that didn't come to me. But like, they just flipped him and Marvin Alcantara's positions. So it's like, I kind of feel like that has something to do with it, where they're like, hey, let's get Arias moving at his other position a little bit, just so he's, playing a couple positions, because when he gets up to triple A, we're going to want him playing second and short, because they'll want, Chang playing shortstop a decent amount too. So I don't know. To me, that felt like it was hey, get comfortable playing second a couple times a week, because when you get to AAA, you're going to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, also too,
maybe that's just me thinking
too much into it.
Look
at the AAA roster too. Like they right now in their infield, like you have Chang, you have Mikey Romero. Like Chang's been playing a lot of shortstop, because he kind of is the big league depth there. But like Mikey really is like second base and third base.
Yeah. And
if you want to play Chang at short, Mikey's going to play third, so Arias kind of has to play second, right?
Exactly.
And it's not like saying like Arias probably couldn't handle third, but like you want to keep him up the middle, right?
Yeah. And I think they would. They're definitely still going to put Arias at short a couple times a week.
Yeah. No, definitely.
But they wouldn't want to stop playing Chang at short completely if he is like the AAA depth for the position.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially with Story out, and God forbid something happens to like Marcelo, it's good to have Chang there, because as much as like, is Chang going to hit the big leagues? Very likely not. But you know what he can do? He plays defense, right? And I remember when Story got hurt a couple of years ago, and there was like, oh, we're going to put Romy at shortstop, and then obviously just the Red Sox luck, Romy then got hurt playing shortstop, but like that kind of was like, okay, it's like Romy's playing shortstop, really not like we don't have a guy who can just play shortstop even if they can't hit, right? And with Chang, like there might not be much of a bat there even at the big league level. There might not be much of a bat at the big league level there, but he can play defense, he can play shortstop, and like that's important. Don't get me wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if IKF's healthy, it wouldn't shock me. The right side, oh, we're gonna play IKF at shortstop now. But like, yeah, God forbid something were to happen to Marcelo, like you would have Sung-Chae Chang, right? And so, especially before Trevor Story gets back as well. Also, too, I will mention this on Arias too, because it is, I think I do find it a little bit interesting. Him playing second base also too, in some ways, kind of does prep him for the big leagues because Marcelo's playing shortstop right now, and who knows what happens when Story gets back, but like there's a chance they just go, Marcelo's our shortstop. There's a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you never know. Or who knows what happens with Story, because as much as I love Trevor Story, like the injuries are a question, right?
I don't think Story's a factor anymore. I really don't.
In all honesty, too, I don't think he should be, right? Because and I also too, because I'm also too looking like down the road. It's like the Red Sox too want to add like power to their lineup. Your best bet, like everyone's talking about, trade an outfielder to open up an outfield spot, and then now the DH spot's open. But like if you're looking at a position specifically, and you're not going to add an outfielder, right? Your best bet in infield is third base because you already have Contreras at first, right? Your odds are better of finding a power hitting third baseman than a power hitting shortstop or second baseman, because the power hitting shortstop is going to be really expensive. Power hitting second basemen don't grow on trees, and they're very rare, even nowadays. Your best bet's going to be third base, right? And if that happens, Marcelo's already at short, at least second base for Arias, right? So in some ways too, him playing second base, just in general, regardless of the whole what happens when he gets called up AAA or not, like him playing second base, because it might end up being his long-term position, right? So in that sense, yeah. And when I say it might end up being his long-term position, it's not because he can't play shortstop, but the Red Sox are locked in on Marcelo Meyer being their shortstop. Yeah, you can't play two shortstops, unfortunately. It's not like I'm thinking like slow pitch softball where you get four outfielders, but like one of those outfielders can't run, so you have like a fifth person out there that just fields the ball for them, or you get like a designated runner because he can't run. This guy's got like you guys got like a hip replacement and he can't run, so he hits the ball and someone else runs for him. Like you can't just put two shortstops out there at once. Like it doesn't work. I think it would be kind of funny, or the Red Sox would just play with five infielders all the time and two outfielders. I don't think that would go good, but I don't think that would work. But back when Carl Crawford played left field, they talked about him being so fast he could basically play on the infield. Funny how that was a conversation at one point in time. But no, Ari also it adds versatility. Like you take that, right?
Yeah.
You take that added versatility as well. It's not like playing second base is going to be some super difficult thing for him to learn. Like you're already playing shortstop. It's the whole reason why, those, what was it, like 3 or 4 years straight, and it's like the Red Sox take a shortstop, the Red Sox take a shortstop, the Red Sox draft a shortstop. It's like, how many of them are probably going to end up at shortstop? Maybe one, right? And you look at those years of them taking all these shortstops, and Nick York wasn't not a shortstop, right? Marcelo Meyer is a shortstop, right? Mikey Romero, not a shortstop anymore. Nazan Zanatello, Antonio Anderson, Christian Campbell, not shortstops.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a reason, though, that they take the shortstops, because odds are, like, if they need to be moved somewhere else, they can figure it out. So, with that, like, with Arias, like, the guy's we already consider him a good defensive shortstop. He can make the move to second base. And it doesn't mean he's going to be a second base long term. It doesn't mean, but it gives them the option that, let's say he gets to the big leagues, whether it's this year, next year, whatever, right? And maybe Marcelo is entrenched at shortstop. Well, you can put Arias at second base now instead of questioning it. So in that sense, it's a plus. But a lot of Arias talk, and
yep,
deservedly so. But as I kind of mentioned, we talk about Arias every week. We don't want to spend too long on him, just because odds are we're going to be talking about Franklin Arias next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that, and all the other weeks, right? Most likely at this rate.
And honestly, a lot of big weeks. A lot of big weeks in Portland.
A lot of big weeks. So I'll just kind of run through quickly with the home runs. Will Turner, Brooks Brandon, Nate Baez, Franklin Arias, that's mentioned, Marvin Alcantara, and even a rehabbing Robin Gonzalez hit 1 homer. Then Ahbram Liendo hit 2 homers. Also, too, Nelly Taylor and Stanley Tucker both had 5 hits. Johan Ferran Garcia had 4 hits. Very good week all around in Portland here. Obviously, Liendo's 2 homers, I feel like, is kind of like the headline grabber. So who do you think had like the biggest week this week, Hunter? Is it Liendo or is it someone else?
It's got to be Liendo. 6 for 18, 2 doubles, 2 homers, drove in 5 runs, scored 5 more. So in the month of June, he's hitting 309 with 4 homers and 20 RBIs in June. He's up to 34 RBIs on the year. He's got 11 steals. He made one of the more ridiculous defensive plays you're going to see all year at third base on Sunday, I think it was. He's only hitting 215 on the year, but like it's a good 215 because the slugging percentage is up to 362, which is decent enough for the 215 batting average. Like I said, he steals a ton of bases. He plays great defense. And it was just a horrendous start to the year for him. So again, like the 215 is really good when you consider how bad of a year it was for the first month and a half. And he took such a big step forward last year. And then again, like that first 30 games, first 25 games of the year, it really felt like things were trending in the wrong direction for him. And it feels like he's kind of figured it out again. And it just seems like these big situations keep finding him right now. And he keeps delivering. And it's been fantastic to see. I feel like I've been annoying about him for a couple of years now, and never in the sense of like, oh my God, I think this guy's the next great prospect or anything, but just he's always been fun to watch. I'm always gonna stand up for the guy who's great defensively and fast, because those are 2 things that are just always gonna play. So it's cool to see them put everything together a little bit, even if it's just for a stretch. And it's cool to see him kind of carry the offense for a month. And I don't want to say carry the offense because obviously Franklin Arias has been fantastic. Johan Fran Garcia just, on Sunday, he snapped a 14-game hitting streak. And he even drew a walk in that game, which means he now has a 21-game on base streak. Like Stanley Tucker's hitting like 400 in triple and double A so far. So like it's not like he's doing it himself or anything. Marvin Alcantara has been fantastic recently. He's someone that Johnny Reno, when I talked to him, was super high on Marvin Alcantara. So like it's something we've talked about the last couple of weeks. We keep saying how a lot of the bats in Portland have really stepped up, and Ahbram Liendo is one of them who has just he's taken such a step forward the last couple of weeks. Yeah, and it's really cool to see someone who has such an elite defensive profile be the best bat on the team for the last, 15, 20 days. Second best bat on the team, I guess, because what Johan Fran Garcia has been doing has been absurd.
Yeah, there's a ton of there's been a ton of good performances in Portland, and it is it's definitely funny because it felt like I mentioned this last week, but it did feel like coming into the year was who's going to be the guy besides Arias, and apparently it's everyone, which not a bad thing, not a bad thing at all. Obviously, I think the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing with kind of this Portland team is kind of you look at right now Sox prospects right now they have their kind of starting lineup as Garcia catching, then Brandon. They have the rehabbing Romy Gonzalez there. Obviously, that's not going to be forever. But Ahbram Liendo, Franklin Arias, Miguel Blaze, Will Turner, Nelly Taylor, Marvin Alcantara. Like you go through that group, and I know previously they had Garcia at DH and Nate Baez catching, right? but you kind of look at that group and like there's a lot to like there, and not everyone there is like some high end prospect or anything, but like I remember when Marvin Alcantara was coming. I don't remember when he was coming out of the DSL or the FCL, but like Sox prospects had him ranked like pretty highly, if I remember correctly. And obviously, glove first guy, good defensively. Yeah, the bat times hasn't been like the craziest or anything. I'm actually just going to try and see how high he was ranked, because I remember at one time he was ranked like relatively high, and I don't know. But I do remember him being ranked pretty highly, which is now going to bother me because I can't find it. He was in the top 30 in 2023. I felt like at one point he might have peaked up a little bit higher than that too, but the point still stands. That he was a guy that, he cracked into the top 30, albeit, yes, it was when the farm system wasn't at its strongest. But still, right? The defense is good. He's got a good arm. He can play short. He can play second base. He's going to be a good defender at both spots. Yes, he's not the biggest person, but like he brings value. And when the bat kind of, when he had like this week, Alcantara had the 6 hits, 3 doubles, and a homer. Like, you take that. Like, you look at someone like Ahbram Liendo, right? And this is a guy who, decides, okay, like I don't know if it's him deciding or the Red Sox deciding or a little bit of both, but decides, hey, we're gonna stop switch hitting. And you look at kind of the results that came last year from that, and it's nothing crazy at all, but you look at him and you go, okay, he can play third, he can play second, he can play a little bit of short if you need to. He was their minor league defensive player of the year last year. Like, you look at someone like Liendo and you go, okay, like worst case scenario, that's probably some big league depth. Same thing with Alcantara, probably worst case scenario, like that's infield. Like both of them, to me, like you look at the two of them and you go, the difference between them and someone like, Sung Chae Chang, for example, is like, yeah, Chang might be a little bit better than the both of them in terms of like, Chang's also already played in the big leagues a little bit. He's on the 40 man, but like Chang is good defensively, but the bat's never really his calling card, but like it's big league depth, right? And I think when you look at Liendo and Alcantara, the both of them, like because of their defense, like worst case scenario, they're going to be big league depth at some point. And you look at, or even at work, even if they were to never get better from where they are right now, they're guys in AA that could be in AAA on the bench, and can start occasionally in AAA if they were to not get better from where they are today. Then you also remember that Alcantara is 21, doesn't turn 22 until November, and Ahbram Liendo doesn't turn 23 until February of next year. Johan Fran and Brooks Brown have both been kind of, I guess you can call them breakout years in all honesty. I don't know what else you would call them. Johan Fran's a little bit of like the resurgence coming off the big ACL injury and really kind of getting a full year this year. And then Brandon, obviously, is that big breakout. Nelly Taylor, a little bit the same boat of like Liendo and Alcantara for me, where it's like bare minimum big league depth because of the defense, right? Even Miguel Blaze in some ways, right? Like bare minimum, because his defense is so good, like bare minimum, he's big league depth, right? Obviously, you hope for more than that, right? Especially with Blaze, where we've seen the flashes before. You hope for more than that, but like bare minimum, you're getting guys who are useful. And there's a lot of good defenders on the team, like I mentioned, between Arias, Liendo, Alcantara, Nelly Taylor, Miguel Blaze. It's that right. A lot of good defensive players there. But now that the bats are starting to kind of come around, it is, it makes this kind of Portland team, it's more than just Franklin Arias. It's not just Franklin Arias. It feels like any given week that a guy like a Liendo, for example, can have a really big week, right? It's kind of it balances it out. It balances that team out. And it also helps your pitchers when you have a really good defensive team. Also helps. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have on the position player side of things. We're going to bump over to the pitching side if you're good, Hunter. We'll bump over to the pitching side of things. In Portland this week, I feel like Anthony Iance is probably the starting place. Obviously, not the like lights out, obscene outings that he had earlier this year, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, people. But Iance this week, 4 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts, just the 1 walk. There have been some questions with Iance recently. I know you kind of addressed a little bit of it last week, Hunter, but like, oh, why is he not throwing mid to upper 90s anymore? Blah, blah, blah. If Iance is sitting low, like 90, 93, is sitting like 93, and it's just touching a 95, that's fine, right? With the stuff he has, especially too if he's limiting walks, like, he'll be fine. There's no concern. And in all honesty, I don't know if we really expected him to. I mean, when he touched 100 in the Futures game, it was a short experience. Not the Futures game, sorry, the spring breakout game. When he touches 100 in the spring breakout game, like it's a short appearance. It's one of those things where too in because it's spring training, you're fresh, you haven't thrown a lot of innings that year, and like I said, short outing, he can just go out there 110% and pump gas. Now it's different. We're in June, where getting close to the dog days of summer. He's thrown more innings, and he doesn't need to be throwing mid to upper 90s. If he's, like I said, if he's sitting 93, 94, is touching 95, 96 occasionally, like that is more than fine for him. For some guys, that might not work, but for Anthony Iance, that'll play, right? And then obviously if the velo continues to develop like over this upcoming offseason and maybe next year he's sitting mid 90s, right? It's a win. But even if not, like it's fine. Not every pitcher's got to be throwing, 97, 98. And I think a lot of people have kind of gotten themselves caught up in that with, oh, Peyton Toley's now throwing, upper 90s and this guy's doing this and this guy's throwing that. And it's like, okay, it's great and all, but you have to remember the Red Sox pitching philosophy is centered around having really good stuff and a lot of that is having a really good fastball. Having a good fastball doesn't mean you have to throw it hard, right? Having a good fastball means it tunnels really well with your other pitches. It might mean you control it really well. You have really good command of it. It might mean it has really good movement, even though it might not be thrown the hardest, right? I mean, look at, what was it, the 2023 season, was it, of Chris Martin? Or maybe it was 22, one of those years, something like that. But like when Chris Martin was basically like the best reliever and best non-closer in baseball, Chris Martin wasn't throwing hard, but, good movement and really, really, really good command. That's maybe the extreme example, a reliever with extremely good command. But having a good fastball doesn't just mean throwing it hard. And with Iance having an actual pitch mix, he doesn't need to rely on throwing it as hard as someone like Peyton Toley did last year when Toley was really fastball and figuring out everything else. Right? So in that sense, there's no worry with Iance throwing in like the 93 range. And, the numbers this year overall still are absurd. So there's no worries there. And he had a good start this week. So that's great.
Yeah. There's also a massive difference between the two, being that Peyton Toley's big pitch is his fastball, whereas Anthony Iance coming out of college, his big pitches were all of his secondary pitches, where the fastball was just kind of like the setup pitch. And it was like, man,
he has an actual pitch mix.
Yeah, it was like, man, all of his secondary pitches are really gross and his fastball's nice. And it was like that's why in like the spring breakout game, his fastball hitting 100, I mean, obviously fastball hitting 100 no matter what would be awesome, but that's why it was such like this big thing, because it was like, oh my God, with that disgusting curveball and with the slider and with the changeup, oh my God. But it's like, hey man, if it sits 94 or 95 and he's still throwing all those other pitches, he's still going to be freaking disgusting. Like, who cares? He has a 1 ERA on the season. He has an 84 WHIP on the season. Like, he's fine. He's doing fine. Again, I don't want to be repeating myself, but it would be one thing if he had like a 4.9 ERA and was struggling and he was walking a ton of people and not missing bats. But every week we're out here talking about like, yeah, he threw another 4 shutout innings, another 5 shutout innings. He had 10 whiffs. We're never sitting here talking about like, yeah, he gave up 6 runs on 9 hits and 5 walks and couldn't get out of the 3rd inning. Like, he's never having those issues. Like, he had a not great start last week, and you could easily argue that he was getting squeezed a lot. Like, and even then he didn't give up any earned runs. Like, he's not having these bad issues, and it's I don't want to like get worked up or anything, because it's not like people are freaking out over him not throwing super hard. It's just one of those things where sometimes people are like, oh, is it something to worry about? But it's not like people are like getting actually freaked out. But it's one of those things where I don't want people to think that it's an actual issue when it's absolutely not. Anthony Ianson has given us literally 0 reasons to have any worry about him. He has been nothing but an absurd freak so far. Outside of Ianson, Gage Zeal had another really good start. He's been fantastic as of late. This week, 2 runs on 4 hits over 5 innings, struck out a career best 9 batters, didn't walk any. He has a 4.56 ERA on the season in 11 starts, 61 strikeouts, but just 10 walks in 53 1/3. But more importantly, in 16 innings in June, he has just a 2.25 ERA. So just like a rough start to the year, but really figured it out. And to me, it's one of those things where it could be a case of new system. You know, he came over in a trade in the offseason. He was the return in the David Sandlin, Jordan Hicks move. And you know, you're in a new system. I'm sure the Red Sox tweaked a ton of things with him, because they tweak a ton of things with literally everyone that ever comes over in any trade, or draft, whatever. They grab you and they're like, okay, we're going to change everything about you. So I'm sure he came over here and they were like, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And you know, he's had a bit of a home run problem, but outside of that, like, it's been pretty electric, especially recently. And I said it last week, both times that I've seen him in person, I've come away thinking like, this is a really good pitcher. And then again, he does it this week. Now, I didn't see him live this week. He actually pitched on Section 10 day. So, you know, so a lot of people went to that game. So it's cool that he showed out for that game. Because I don't know if people know it, because he's not like a big name, but for the people that do know it, that he was like the return of that trade, it's good for him to show out in that situation, just kind of because fans tend to get unruly about trade returns, rightfully so sometimes. You know, Caleb Durbin's he's been playing fantastic lately. But like, he's going to have a hard time living up to what Kyle Harrison's doing right now. And like, all those types of situations tend to create issues. So, you know, Gage Zeal doing whatever he can to make a name for himself is not a bad idea. So yeah, it was just another really good outing for him. And it's been awesome to see what he's been doing over his last couple starts.
Yeah, no, definitely. Overall, overall too, just I feel like it was a pretty there were a couple like starts that were a little bit rough, but like outside of that, like Patrick Sandoval had a good rehab outing, which I think is kind of, you know, I guess more of a big league team thing, but it's you know, it is nice to see. You got Caleb Bolden having 5 strikeouts out of the bullpen in 3 1/3 with just 1 hit, no runs. Max Carlson with 3 shutout innings out of the bullpen. Patrick Halligan with 2 shutout innings out of the bullpen. Dalton Rogers with 4 shutout innings out of the bullpen. So And you kind of look at that, like good, good week there, especially for the guys coming out of the bullpen. But yeah, the pitching in Portland's also interesting to me because, like we mentioned this before, it feels like there's a lot of guys here in like this Portland mix that very well at some point maybe could get a move up to Worcester, but it's also weird because I mean, we talked about certain guys before, but like there also hasn't been anyone that's really kind of grabbed it by the horns and really ran away and made themselves like the favorite to be called up either at some point. Like you'll see it, like Holobets will have like a good start. We go 7 innings, and then maybe he has another start where he struggles. He gets through 5, but he gives up maybe 3 or 4 runs, or even if he only gives up 2, it's not like the cleanest start. Or like Hayden Mullins in a similar sense, right? He can have a really good start, and then the next start he struggles. He kind of, I don't want to say labors through it, but like a lot of base runners on, not like I said, not like a clean start, right? It feels like there's been like a lot of that. Blake Wehunt's like another guy where it's like he has his good starts, but then like this week he only gave up 2 earned runs, but 6 runs in total. Like kind of struggles a little bit, right? But then he'll have like a really good start, and it's like, oh yeah, this is why Blake Wehunt could potentially be in AAA at some point this year, right? But like I said, there hasn't really been anyone that's really like grabbed that by the horns and been like, I'm going to be the guy who gets that move up to AAA. So it is interesting to kind of see. That's something that I'm interested in seeing, like how that plays out over the next month or two, right? And that rotation plays out in AA because, like I did mention earlier, like there are some guys in Greenville where it's like they could be making that case for themselves to get moved up at some point. So if they start getting moved up, what happens to the guys in Portland, right? You only have so many long guys because eventually, you run out of innings eventually. Like if you've got 10 guys that need to go 3 to 5 innings, like you might, and you also have some bullpen guys, you're going to run out of innings eventually, right? So in that sense, especially too when a guy like Holobets can go 6 or 7, like in his sleep sometimes it feels like, yeah, you're going to run into that issue of you only got so many innings available. It's similar to like we've only got so many at bats available. There's only so many spots in the lineup. A little similar to that in some sense. Well, I think that's everything on Portland. Hunter, we're all good in Portland.
Yeah, I do just want to say Jeremy Wu Yelland returned. He made a couple FCL appearances, but this was his first AA appearance of the year, working back from an injury. 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, a walk, a strikeout. So obviously not a great appearance, but it was his first appearance of the year, so I wasn't expecting anything great. He's a phenomenal pitcher. I expect him to find his groove quickly and become very, very dominant because that's what we've seen from him over the last couple seasons. A healthy Jeremy Wu Yelland is someone who could by September be someone fighting for like a role in the bullpen, especially again, not to keep being, negative, but especially with just how uninspiring the major league roster is. I expect the Red Sox to be selling off quite a few of the major league roster pieces by the trade deadline. So there's going to be openings, and then there's probably going to be some, roster cuts late in the season. So there will probably be some openings. So I could see them, in September having some, hey, who wants a chance to prove themselves for next season? And I could see Jeremy Wu Yelland getting a chance if he proves himself to be healthy and pitches the way I know he can pitch because he's really good when he's healthy. So cool to see him back and expect to hear us talk about him a lot because when he's healthy, he's awesome.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys too that as a lefty out of the bullpen, like very like it feels like we've just been waiting for him to be healthy and really take an opportunity to really kind of not fly through the minors, but like move quicker than he has. And a lot of the reason he's moved at the pace he has been the injuries, right? But you also too, I think the bigger thing there is for Jeremy Wu Yelland is just staying healthy. can you keep him healthy? That's the biggest thing. Because when he is healthy, he tends to look very good. It's just the health. With that, though, we're going to bump down to Greenville. And I think we have to start with Devin Futrell. 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts, no walks. Might be when you kind of consider the length of the outing as well. Might be one of, if not the most impressive start of the year. When you consider the fact that 7 innings, right? We haven't seen I don't think we've seen a scoreless 7-inning outing this year yet. And then also add in, he only gave up 2 hits. And he didn't walk anyone. And he didn't hit any batters, right? Just one of those games where nothing could go wrong, it felt like, for Devin Futrell, or I'm assuming that's what it felt like for him. What do you kind of make of his start, Hunter?
Yeah, Futrell's one of those guys who, when he's on, kind of like you said, it just seems like it's so easy for him. And a big part of that is he just has such good command. Like this year, I think he made 3 starts in single A, and those were just so dominant that I'm not even going to talk about him because he just shouldn't have been there. He pitched in high A last year and he was fantastic. And then this year it was just a case of, kind of like I mentioned with Tyler McDonough earlier, where they just had too many bodies and they were like, hey, we know you don't belong in Double A and it's kind of disrespectful. You've been really good in Triple A, but we're going to put you in Double A. And it was the same thing with Futrell, where it was like, hey, we know you've been in high A and you've been good here and you don't belong in single A, and this is disrespectful, but we're going to put you in single A because we have too many bodies. So I'm not even going to talk about his single A games because they were too good and he didn't belong there. So 41 innings in high A, 41 strikeouts, just 6 walks. He's hit 1 batter. So the command has been phenomenal. And it's just when he's on the mound in that groove, it really does look like a man amongst boys. It looks like your dad at little league practice when he decides you were talking too much shit, and he's like, you know what, fine, you just hit a home run off him in batting practice, and he's like, all right, you know what, fine, now I'm gonna pitch hard and this will be really funny, now I'm gonna make all the kids look stupid. And he's having fun out there, and he looks like a college kid against a bunch of 18-year-olds. And it's just it's pinpoint accuracy and disgusting pitches, and it's something you really don't see a lot of at that level with that much consistency. The Red Sox have so many good pitching prospects, and we'll talk about Kyson Witherspoon in a little bit, and we'll talk about Marcus Phillips, and we talked about Anthony Ianson, and we'll talk about Alex Bouchard, and the only pitcher that we have or will talk about who kind of does what Devin Futrell can do is Ianson. And I'm not saying Futrell is an Ianson level prospect. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is he has that same level of that combination of really good pitches while also actually being able to command them consistently. Kyson Witherspoon has these really disgusting pitches, but sometimes he just doesn't have control of them, and it leads to him walking a lot of people or giving up a lot of home runs. And I will say Devin Futrell's had a little bit of a home run problem, and it's because his pitches aren't at the level of Anthony Ianson's or Kyson Witherspoon's. They're really good. They're just not, as gross. But that's where the command comes in, And just like he never lets things slip away from him. And it's just, how often do you see a high A pitcher go 7 innings? That's so incredible to me. And we've talked about it before. They all have these very strict pitch limits, and they usually have inning limits. And I'm sure he still had an inning limit. I'm assuming it was 7 innings, but like, to me, that shows such a trust in him, where they had that inning limit at 7, because usually it will be like 75 pitches or 5 innings, 75 pitches or maybe 6 innings, because you're trying to build up these pitchers and you don't want to hurt them or anything. And obviously, it's never a bad thing to like stretch these guys out. And you could also maybe make the argument that it's like, oh, well, they don't see him as the same level of prospect as Ianson or Witherspoon or Phillips. So they're fine giving him the extra innings, which I'm sure there is an argument to that. But to me, it's also a part of like, they know that he has the control and command that he had, like, he's going to get those like 75 pitches or whatever to work through the 7 innings. And we've seen it with Hunter Dobbins in the past. And it was one of those things that at the low levels, even when he wasn't a high rated prospect, it's something that had all of us consistently being like, hey, this is very clearly a major league pitcher, like even when he wasn't on like any MLB top 30 prospects for the Red Sox, it was like, hey, this guy's clearly a major league pitcher, because he's going out there and throwing 7 innings, 8 innings in Double-A, and not really walking anyone. And even though it's not always the most dominant outings, it was like, this guy clearly has something that is working for him. And it's kind of like you're seeing that a lot with Futrell, where it's like he's pitching deep into games. He's not walking people. Even when it's not the most dominant outings, he tends to leave the game, giving Greenville a chance to win the game. And it's just like, yeah, he's not the sexiest pitching prospect in the system, especially on a Greenville team where you have so many talented pitching prospects, even if you want to throw in like Juan Valera, who obviously is out for the rest of the year. But like, that team started the year with just such an absurd grouping of pitching. So like, he's never going to get that name recognition. But he's definitely someone who is going to at some point be a major league pitcher.
Yeah, no, definitely. For me, I kind of, you haven't actually asked that. Do you have anything else on the pitching side of things? Because I do want to jump over to the position player side of things.
I will just throw out a couple notes. Tyson Witherspoon, 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits, walked 2 batters, struck out a career high 8. It really does feel like he's kind of turned a corner. It's been really good to see. Again, maybe not like the sharpest of sharpest outings, but a lot of really good strikeouts in there, obviously just setting a career high. I mean, his previous career high was 6, so this isn't even like just barely passing it. This was 2 more than his career high. And it's fun to see him kind of, again, giving the fan base something to get really excited about. And it just feels like, 4 out of his last like 5 outings have been very positive. And then Alex Bouchard had his best start in the last couple weeks. 1 run on 3 hits in 5 innings, struck out 5, didn't walk any, which is huge because he walked 5 last week. And then Marcus Phillips started off the game really good. I think he had like 4 strikeouts in the first 3 innings, and he didn't give up any runs. It was just like 2 infield singles. And then the game kind of got away from him. He ended up giving up 3 earned runs, 4 runs, 3 earned on 7 hits over 4 1/3. But again, it was a lot of like dink and dunk hits. He gave up 1 3-run homer. Only one walk, which is big because he had 7 last week. Him and Bouchard really cleaned up the walks this week. Overall, I thought it was a really positive outing. It was just kind of like he gave up the one big hit, and that kind of really sunk him. But really positive outings for him and Bouchard, even though the ERA for Phillips isn't really going to show it. And that's all I got.
All right. With that, I'm going to jump over to the offensive side of things because Justin Gonzales hit 2 homers this week. I know he only had 3 hits, but 2 homers and 6 walks this week. Yes, he did strike out 8 times, but if you're going to have a week where you strike out 8 times and you only get 3 hits and you want it to be successful, a pair of homers and 6 walks will do pretty damn well. He had a rougher week last week, but the one thing with a guy like Justin Gonzales is the power will always play. And this week is one of those kind of like things that really makes that evident. Like, yeah, that power is going to play. You only got 3 hits. 2 of them were nukes. Point in case. The power will play. Overall this season, Gonzales, the numbers are 257 average, 351 on base, and then he's got a 429 slug. He's got 9 homers. He's got 8 doubles, 2 triples. He's walked 26 times. Yes, he has struck out 48 times, but 48 strikeouts in 54 games is actually, I'd argue, is pretty damn good. Because you look at it's like almost double the amount of walks, and it's like, ooh, but then you're like, oh wait, he's still striking out less than once per game. So there's a lot to like there. Obviously, like the powers, it's Justin Gonzales. He's however tall he is, whether you want 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'1", I don't care. Whatever it is, he's a massive human being, and with that, the power plays. And this week was proof of it. Not like the best week by any means. He didn't go 10 for 15 with 5 homers or anything. Not that he would do that, because that's, that feels very hard for anyone to do at any given level. And if you do that at that given level, you're probably not going to be at that given level for much longer. So not like the best week in the world, but solid overall. The 2 homers definitely kind of pulling the weight there. But, I look at it this way. If you're a big leaguer and, you hit 2 home runs in 5 games, in the 5 games you play that week, you can't do too much, especially if you're walking 6 times 2. You can't do too much complaining about that, right? I think overall, I look at that. It's not the craziest week in the world, but it's a solid week. Hit a pair of homers, get on base between the 3 hits and the 6 walks, 9 times in 5 games. Like, you take that, right? The person I really want to touch on, though, definitely is Yoenis Cespedes, just because we've talked about it, touched on it a little bit before, but it feels like this is the Yoenis Cespedes that was really kind of ranked highly, seen highly, was ranked ahead of Franklin Arias before Arias really kind of exploded. 56 games so far this year for Cespedes. We're kind of reaching that point now where full season kind of stats are really kind of, we're past that 50-game mark for a lot of the players. We could kind of really take a look at it and be a decent sample size. 56 games, 292, 345, 517 is the slash line, 862 OPS. But the big thing for Cespedes, 18 doubles, 1 triple, 11 homers. He's already got 30 extra base hits. Last year in 110 games, he had 39 extra base hits. So if you kind of want to do some quick math here, he's played 56 games. 56 times 2 is 112. So it's about the same, 112 to 110. He's got 30 extra base hits. So you want to double that and say he's going to play 112 games. That's on pace for 60 extra base hits in a year. That's very, very good. Very, very good. And like I said, last year, the 24 doubles was really nice, and the 30 extra base hits was good. But now this year, it's, like I said, it's taken that next step. And he's doing it a level above as well. He's doing it in Greenville instead of Salem. Yes, we know Salem isn't always the most hitter-friendly part. We know that. But that's also a little bit more for, like, homers, because you kind of, what happens in Salem, you might lose some homers, but you might gain some doubles off of it, potentially. You're not, it's a little bit different in Greenville. But still, 30 extra base hits. He's averaging an extra base hit, less than every 2 games. Essentially every 2 games, basically. Which over a 6-game week, if he plays every day, you're looking at an average of 3 extra base hits a week, right? That's something that you cannot complain about, especially when you look at a week like this week where he has 5 extra base hits, 3 doubles, a triple, and a homer. You take that. Obviously, the thing with Cespedes, he doesn't walk a ton. He's got 20 walks in 56 games. He's got 64 strikeouts, but you do have, he's 20 years old, right? He doesn't turn 21 until September, right? It is not that's not something that needs to be worked on today. I'm not saying they're not working on it, but we're not saying by tomorrow Yoenis Cespedes now needs to walk more and strike out less, right? It's not like an extreme case. So in that sense, I think those are things that you can look and go, okay, maybe there's something he can improve. But the improvement that we've seen from this to this year compared to last year already in itself, for Yoenis Cespedes has been a very pleasant sight to see, I guess, is the way to put it.
Yeah, it's been very fun. Cespedes seems like a absolute joy in the clubhouse. He's the hug guy. Whenever someone hits a home run, he's always the guy at the top step of the dugout, giving them this just ginormous hug. It's always fun whenever he hits a home run to see who's the guy that's going to give him the hug. It's usually just the guy. If someone was on base, it will be the guy at home plate waiting to give him the hug. But still, if no one was on base, then there will be someone waiting at the top of the steps for him. But he seems like an absolute joy. So it's nice to see him have this big turnaround season and reclaim some of that prospect status. And there's still some glaring issues, like the strikeout rate has been a thing, but the pop is so clearly there, and the defense has been solid, and it's just he's driving in a ton of runs. And just to go from where he was at the start of the year, where we were speculating if he would be repeating single A to start the year, to where he is now, where it's like, when's the promotion to double A coming? It's been awesome. As for Gonzales, those 2 home runs were huge to see. Back-to-back games, Saturday and Sunday. Sadly, we did not get to see the one on Saturday. The feed was not working for the first inning and a half. But the one on Sunday was working, and it was an away game. And the announcers were very funny, because the announcer he thought that Justin Gonzales was hurt, because he said he thought he was limping around first base. And then by the time he got home, he realized that Justin Gonzales just takes 1.5 years to round third base. He was like, "Oh man, is he limping around third base? Oh." And then when he got home, he goes, "Man, he sure does take his time around the bases." And I was like, yeah, it took him a minute, but he realized that Justin Gonzales just likes to hot dog it. I love it, man. I always talked about how much I love Yordany Monegro's. As long as you're putting up numbers, I was having the talk with my friend the other day about Jeffrey Yan, the dude, the pitcher in AAA. I think he's in the Mets organization now or something like that. That bugs me, because that dude's 29 years old in AAA, and he's got a 9 ERA. And that would piss me off if I was his teammate. And I'm like, dude, you gave up 4 runs this inning, and you're doing the splits on the mound because you got to strike out. Dude, we're down 5 runs. Stop. But if you're out there throwing 6 shutout innings, please celebrate. Hell yeah, get fired up, get me fired up, piss off the other team. Let's go, let's do this. And it's if Justin Gonzales is hitting a 2-run home run in the first inning and getting us off to a lead, hell yeah, do a stutter stop, hit a Euro step around the bases. Absolutely. Like set the tone early. So it's good to see him get his swing back. He's obviously 3 for 18 on the week still isn't great. He's been slumping average wise recently. Something interesting though is with the average dipping, he has randomly started to steal bases when he gets on now. He had 0 steals through the first like month and a half, and now he's got 4, which I mean, I know still isn't a lot, but like he is starting to like every once in a while swipe a couple bags. Maybe he feels like he needs to start doing something on base every once in a while, now that he's not hitting as much. But 2 home runs in back or a home run in back-to-back games, maybe that's something starting to flip. Ronnie Hernandez 4 for 13 with a double and a homer. He just keeps hitting 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Luke Heyman hit another homer this week. Isaiah Jackson hit another home run this week. Yoferi Rodriguez hit another home run this week. And then the big one I want to talk about, Jack Winay 5 for 16, hit a double, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. And then last night, the phenomenal Andrew Parker put out Jack Winay promoted to Double-A. So this is the last time we will be talking about Jack Winay in the Greenville section, because we will from now on be talking about him in Double-A, which is where he belongs, because he has just been absolutely phenomenal. So Jack Winay finishes his high A career, or his high A season, because I think he was Justin Salem last year. So I don't have his page up. I just have the article I was writing. So I don't actually have, let me just click on him because he's right in front of me. That way I can actually be sure instead of being an idiot. Okay, yeah, so I was right. Okay, so he finishes his high A career with a 255, 434, 457 slash line. So 434 on base percentage is stupid. 5 doubles, 11 home runs in 56 games, 31 RBIs, 43 runs scored, and 53, I think. He has a 21.1% walk rate and a 20.3% strikeout rate. Yeah, 53 walks and 51 strikeouts. So, I mean, just phenomenal. The only thing you can really complain about is just that he doesn't swing enough. Like the in zone swing rate isn't great. The out of zone swing rate is phenomenal, which is a good thing, obviously. He's not swinging at balls, but just he's not really swinging at a ton of strikes either. But again, it's a process that's been working for him. 255 average is doable. 434 on base is fantastic. 457 slug is fantastic. He's driving in a ton of runs. He's scoring a ton because he's getting on all the time. And he's playing good defense at third. He's playing fine defense at first. He's not playing there a ton. He's playing there a little bit. But yeah, Jack Winay's been awesome. The Red Sox need more corner infield prospects, and he has been a really good one. So cool to see him get promoted. I'm interested to see how this will play out in Portland, because Brooks Brannon is kind of just like the first baseman, as he should be. Marvin Alcantara has been the second baseman. They kind of have, it's Brannon, Alcantara, Arias, Liendo, and they've all been really freaking good over the last month, especially. Like Brannon and Arias have been great all year. And then Alcantara and Liendo have been phenomenal over the last month plus. So one of those two is going to get their playing time cut severely, unless
DH
maybe
spot, or
unless Arias or Brannon gets promoted soon. But I know that Chris Hatfield quote tweeted, unless he deleted it, I can't imagine he did, but I know that Hatfield quote tweeted Andrew Parker and said that he asked, and confirmed Winay to Portland with a team source. Doesn't sound like there will be more big promotions for this week, for those wondering. Now that's just he said for this week, but
that's for this week. Does it? Well, also too, like I said, the All-Star break's only 3 weeks away.
Yeah,
you have to, I think it's 3 weeks. Maybe it's 4, but still, the point still stands.
Just it's not a bad thing. but this system is just so packed, and you have to think like we haven't really heard much, but like Maximus Martin has to be returning at some point. The Sox are going to be getting a lot back in trades at some point. I was just writing something on. I keep seeing people speculate what they're going to get for Sonny Gray. I feel like people are overestimating what they're going to get for Sonny Gray.
Yeah, that the money there, plus the fact that he has a no trade, so he can kind of decide where he wants to go.
I saw people doing like, someone said like, oh, they'll get back kind of like what Justin Verlander got a couple of years ago. And then people were doing like, oh, teams number 1 and number 4 prospects. And I think like, yeah,
Well, it does depend on the system, though. I will mention that because
yes,
but look at like team rankings, a really bad team's number 3 prospect might be a good farm system's number like 20 prospect.
His production might be close to what Verlander's was at that time, but I do also think pedigree matters. And like Justin Verlander's like playoff pedigree and stuff, like teams care about that. They're like, oh man, when we get to the playoffs and we have Justin Verlander, like, yeah, Sonny Gray's been good in the playoffs, but like it's a small sample size, and teams aren't gonna be like, we freaking need Sonny Gray, man. Like we'll do anything for. Teams are gonna be like, all right, if you're gonna be dicks about Sonny Gray, we'll go call another team about another pitcher. Like they'll get over it.
Also, too, here's a real quick point. I don't know if I know. Apparently, if people don't like working with Breslow, do you think they're gonna really want to trade with him? Supposedly,
I think yes, but I do also wonder if that will make them quicker to be like, all right, go fuck yourself.
On somewhere else.
Yeah. Like, I think that will make them be like quicker to hang up the phone, like, all right, we're good. Like, all right, you don't want to play ball. We won't play ball. But like, this is a dude who's turning 37 in November and has never been an ace. Whereas, yeah, Verlander was also old, but he was an MVP winner, not just a Cy Young, but an MVP winner. Like, I feel like teams will bend over backwards for that a lot quicker than. So
they will. I think the other thing too with Verlander too is as much as people want to say it might not matter, name also does matter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's Justin Verlander.
It's easier to sell Justin Verlander than Sonny Gray. Also,
yeah, teams will buy tickets, or fans will buy tickets to go see Justin Verlander.
Yes.
And owners care about selling tickets. Owners aren't going to get excited about like, oh, fans
shouldn't have won the MVP that year. Shouldn't have. I think the guy in second place, yeah.
He would have if the Red Sox didn't collapse. All they had to do was make the playoffs. And Ellsbury gets the
Probably, yeah.
All they had to do.
Also, can I also do really quick on that too? I think it's good we've moved a little bit away from like needing to make the playoffs to win a Cy Young or an MVP. It's so stupid.
I agree, but I also think like if the Red Sox were just like never in the playoffs the whole year, I think he wins it, but I think because it was such a bad collapse.
So, yeah, no, I mean like in general though. I mean in general.
Yeah. Because you could still be valuable and your team was bad. Yes.
Well, it's also too the thing of like baseball, like you have 26 guys on a team, you have 9 players in a lineup plus who's ever pitching that day. Like even when Shohei Ohtani pitches, unless Ohtani's going 9 innings, which he's probably not, Ohtani could go 7 innings of no hit of like
and hit 2 home runs and still lose. Yeah,
exactly. Because like some guy might come out of the bullpen and give up 5 runs. And
it's that old meme of like Shohei Ohtani does something that old arm Tungsten's hasn't done since 1800 and still loses. Yeah.
Like it was literally Ohtani with the Angels. Like but like so like in that sense. But yeah, no, it was that's a good one.
Yeah, I think the only time winning should matter in an MVP, like
it's when
team winning matters, is like basketball. because
or like if it's close.
I think that
if two guys
yeah.
have very similar numbers, like okay, basketball, yeah, because there's only 5 guys on the court and like one guy can control the game. I also would tend to argue a little bit hockey, like on this, but only in sets like Connor Hellebuck winning it as a goalie. Like
couldn't tell
winning
you anything about hockey.
Well,
Wish I
like,
could try to get into it every year, and I always lie to myself. I'm like,
it's a
this is the
sport you gotta
year.
go to.
This
It's a
is the
sport-
year I'm going to watch it.
It's a sport you got to go to fall in love with it.
I've gone a couple times, and I always think it's an awesome experience, and then I just
watching it's different. But no, like Connor Hellebuck winning the Hart Trophy, which is their version of like the MVP, as a goalie, like yeah, winning matters because if you're a goalie, if you don't win, like it don't make a difference. Like okay, so what? You're probably bad if you don't win also as a goalie. But also like in some ways, like winning too, like hockey, like 5 skaters on the ice, right? Typically an MVP caliber skater who plays anywhere from a third to close to half the game is going to make a difference. Same thing in basketball where your best players are playing 2/3 of the game, right? And there's only 5 on the court. Like, yeah, winning's going to matter. But yeah, in a sport like baseball where, you know, all those years with Mike Trout, with the whole, even going back to the whole Miggy versus Trout debate where Miggy won the Triple Crown. And it's like, well, the Tigers also were really good. If you go strictly by WAR, yeah, Trout kind of even almost wipes the floor with him. Almost, I think he had like a 1 win above replacement lead on Miggy. But you know the whole winning thing, you know, came into play. Also, to Miggy winning a Triple Crown, I mean, you know, the whole Triple Crown thing does kind of also. It's one of the also too. The Triple Crown now is like kind of a crockable. Like average home run derby is cool, dude, but like it doesn't take into effect the like whether or not you're Miguel Cabrera at third base.
With how much people hate average now, it really doesn't matter.
Also, too, though, like I said, like Miguel Cabrera at third base or Mike Trout in center field.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying it's not an impressive achievement. It absolutely is. But that being your reasoning behind winning an MVP, just besides the fact that, no, he's one of the best players in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, no, he won the Triple Crown. It's like, just say he's one of the best players for baseball, dude.
But I did want to say, for Sonny Gray, like so they asked me to write something because like John Heyman said, not that we can trust anything he says, but John Heyman said that like the Braves were interested in him. So I was supposed to kind of like go through the system and come up with what I thought was like a realistic offer for the Braves. So I went with John Gill, who's their number 9 ranked prospect, Rowdy Reyes, who's their number 27 ranked prospect, and then Jency Angelis, who would be like the lottery ticket throw-in. Admittedly, I went like Yoiker Fajardo, awesome name, and then like he's in the FCL, cool name, putting up good numbers. And I was like, all right, that's the throw-in. That's the lottery ticket. Rowdy Reyes, 17-year-old in the DSL, so you could kind of argue he's a lottery ticket, but huge signing bonus last year. He's hurt right now, but $1.8 million signing bonus last year. Throws 102, 6'4", 210, so a massive dude. I like that. I don't like the fact that he's hurt, but he's 17. He's hurt, so like, wouldn't it be a factor for a couple years? Which that's the part I like, just because the Red Sox system is so loaded right now, and I kind of like just having like, oh, these guys are a couple years away. We're not throwing in another, another pitcher who's already in Double-A who we now have to try to factor into how are we going to have them in the majors next year. And then John Gill, a little bias because he plays for Rome, and I've seen him against Greenville a couple times this year, and I'm just absolutely enthralled with this dude. Ridiculous speed, pretty good power. He's got 10 home runs this year. Only 20 years old. I think he's really freaking good. Like I said, ninth ranked prospect in the system. So like not like some crazy return, but like I just don't think they're gonna get nearly the return for Sonny Gray that I think people think they're gonna get for him. But I still think I still think this is a return that in like a year's time people would be really happy with. Like I think if this was the exact return within a year, people would be like, oh, John Gill's now like the 6th ranked prospect in the system and he's in AA. And Rowdy Reyes is like this exciting prospect in single A. And like, to me, that would be a really good return for a 37-year-old rental pitcher. And I feel like people are getting too excited about.
Well, even Chapman too. They're getting like too far ahead of themselves in what the return is going to be, without like considering like with Sonny Gray the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if the Red Sox do want a good return, they're probably going to have to eat money, or does Chapman with like this whole like hamstring thing? Like, how does that affect his market, right? Well, the vesting option for next season, he's probably going to hit 40 innings, right? Now, does the team really want to take the risk of having to have him for 2027 as well, right? And also the money that's going to be the $13 million on their books for 2027. I was looking at the Brave system the other day, and I was like, oh, they got this Herrick Hernandez guy in AA. He's at a 1.77 ERA in 35 innings, but he's 22. And he was their 4th round pick in 2024. He's their 14th ranked prospect, and I was like, okay, but he walks a crap ton of people. Okay, boom, that's the starting pitcher who's pitches well but walks a crap ton of people. You know what that screams to me? Especially as a lefty, it screams reliever. Albeit this year he's actually been much better. I say much better. 21 walks in 35 innings still isn't crazy, but it's been better than his past. Like I was looking at like Blake Burkhalter, because he started last year in AA starting. He made 14 starts, but then when he went to AAA, he made 16 of his 18 appearances were out of the bullpen. He's only pitched in 6 games this year. He's rehabbing, but he was also, when he was drafted in 2022, he was the closer for Auburn. So that seems like potential reliever, maybe swingman, maybe, but like, because like he was also a potential Rule 5 pick last year. There was some buzz, didn't get picked. Like that seems like the type of guy that like in a Sonny Gray trade, you take that guy, probably gets added to the 40 man at the end of the year. Right. And, you figure out whether you want him to be a pure reliever, more of a multi-inning guy. You figure that out. Right. But like, I think like guys like that, whereas like those are like the type of guys I think you see in these kind of like packages for like a Sonny Gray. You're going to find maybe it's a reliever first pitcher. Right. But that they've got some upside, or maybe it's a starter who maybe probably ends up in the bullpen long term. And maybe it's a hitter who maybe they have a good hit tool, but they don't have a lot of pop, or maybe they don't have a defensive home, or maybe it's a guy who's an elite defender, but the bat's a question mark, right? I like those are the type of guys you get in these type of deals, like a Sonny Gray deal especially. You're not going to get a polished guy. You're not. You're going to get a guy that, like I said, maybe it's a reliever who maybe struggles with command occasionally, right? Or a starter, like I said, command troubles, maybe long-term ends up in the bullpen. Those are more so the kind of guys I think that are more likely, you're going to more likely see in a Sonny Gray trade, unless the Red Sox eat a significant amount of money there. Unless. And even then, how much is significant and how much of a difference does it make in terms of depending on what team he goes to, what's their luxury tax situation, etc. There's all that plays into it as well. So there's a lot there. With that, though, anything else we want to touch on?
I think we're good.
All right. Time for some farm system frenzy. It's going to be a little bit different this week. We're going to kind of do a little bit of an interesting one, a little bit of our version of who we play for. Hunter will have to figure out where 3 former Red Sox prospects play. So either the MLB team / organization they're with, or what foreign league they're in. Because I'm not expecting Hunter to be like, oh, this, like, Jeter Downs plays for the
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao.
Guangdong Tigers.
Ni hao.
The Shanghai Sharks. um, but no, they're not like okay. Jeter Downs plays for the SoftBank Hawks, cool, but like, Anderson Espinosa plays for Oryx, but like, if it's some guy who we haven't seen in 6 years stateside, I'm not expecting Hunter to know what NPB or KBO or whatever other league team this guy plays for. So we've got 3 plus a bonus 4th one as well. First up, Santiago Espinal.
No shot. He's still in a system.
Well, he's not. Well, none of these guys are with the Red Sox, obviously, but
in a system, like no shot. He's still with a major league system. I'm gonna say he's in Japan.
He is not in Japan.
Mexico?
Nope.
Padres?
Nope. He's with an MLB team.
Okay. He is, you said?
What?
He is, you said?
He is with an MLB team.
Good for
an MLB
him.
Organization.
Man. He was with the Cubs at one point. Oh, wait. Santiago Espinal. Why am I thinking of... who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the pitcher. Oh, now I need to think of who I'm thinking of. Now this is going to piss me off.
Reynal Espinal? Is it Reynal Espinal you're thinking of?
No, it was he was a really good pitching prospect, and the Red Sox traded him for I think they traded him for Craig Kimbrell.
Oh, who was that trade? Logan Allen?
Nope, I was wrong. It wasn't
Javier Guerra.
Whatever. I shouldn't be thinking of this. Santiago Espinal. Blue Jays.
Nope. He hasn't been with the Blue Jays since 2023.
Oh my God. The Reds?
Nope, he was there in 24 and 25. He's not.
Oh, the Dodgers. The Dodgers.
Yep. He is with the Dodgers. Santiago Espinal is in Los Angeles Dodgers. He's played 36 games for them this year. He's got 3 doubles, a homer.
Like an absurd diving play the other day.
He might have.
My God, this is gonna piss me off. Who am I thinking of? Okay, next one.
Next one up. Denny Reyes. Where's he playing?
I thought Denny Reyes was going to be so good. He had a couple really good years in the system, obviously not.
Yes.
With I know he pitched for the Mets because my dad's a Mets fan.
Yes, 2023. That was his last stateside appearance.
Okay.
So that was your hint, basically.
KBO.
No, he was in the KBO in 2024 and 2025.
Oh, come on.
I will just mention that the team he is playing for is sponsored by 7-Eleven.
Oh, that's so cool. Is he in Japan?
Nope. It is not in Japan.
Is he in China?
Yes.
Okay.
Danny Reyes is playing in China for the Uni President 7-Eleven. The Uni President 7-Eleven Lions. Which is also funny because when he was in the KBO, he played for the Samsung Lions.
I don't know why, but the team being sponsored by 7-Eleven just makes me think it would be like a China or Japan. I don't know why, but that felt proper.
All those viral videos about 7-Elevens in Japan.
That's probably why, yeah.
Probably why. Next up, former Red Sox prospect who was part of the Addison Reed trade.
Anderson Espinoza is who I was thinking of. Sorry, I was scrolling.
Yeah,
I was scrolling Sox prospects trying to
he's
find
in
him.
Japan. Yeah, he's been a little bit too successful in Japan to include him in this. So, this next one up, included in the Addison Reed trade, Steven Nagosek. Where is he playing? I love how Hunter just looks confused.
The Mets, if he was in the Addison trade?
No, he hasn't been with the Mets since 2023. I will give you a hint. Last year, he was with the Royals for the majority of the season until he then left the Royals. It seems like at some point in the year, and played for the team he is on as well this year at the end of last year.
I'm going to say he's not with a major league team.
He is not with a major league team. I will correct you. I will give you a correct on that.
I don't know why, but the way you worded that.
Yeah.
He's in Mexico.
Yes, he is.
It was a complete guess.
He's playing for Diablos Rojas del Mexico.
It's an awesome name.
So
I don't know why, but the way you worded that made it sound like it was one of those he wanted to test free agency and then no one picked him up and he was like, ah, shit, I shouldn't have tested free agency.
It might have been, in all honesty. Last one, we have a little bonus one. This one is going to be an interesting one. Tyreek Reed. Where's he playing?
You might have fucked up.
Also, I should just mention, Steven Nagosek now unfortunately has to share a clubhouse with a former Cy Young winner. That's a terrible human being. That broke today, might I just add.
Does he play with freaking douchebag?
No,
Bauer?
I'd say, yeah, he just got transferred and bought out by that team in Mexico.
Also, you messed up because I follow Tyreek Reed on Instagram, and I can tell you he plays for the Chicago Hot Dogs.
But what team? That's the question.
It's the Chicago Hot Dogs in the independent league, isn't it?
Nope. It's not an independent team. Oh no, it is independent. Sorry. It's I was looking for it is independent. Sorry, I was looking for the league, potentially. If you could take a guess.
I know the team name. It's the Chicago.
I think the team name. I will give you credit, but do you know what league it's in? Because the last 2 years before this year, he's playing in the Frontier League.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know the name of the league.
Okay, that's fine. You get the credit for it.
I just know it's an independent league, and they're the Chicago Dogs.
It's the American Association, which also is, funny enough, it's AA. That's more so where I was trying to go with it. If you could take a wild guess at it. I was going to see if you could pick them up. But yes, Tyreek Reed is playing very he's got some Red Sox farm system lore there.
Does indeed.
This would have been the one to like throw in like a Albert Feliz, but I don't think he's playing. At least I haven't seen him. I will also funnily note the Red Sox have two former players in Banana Ball now. I don't think we covered this on the show. Obviously, Jackie Bradley Jr. is now playing for the Indianapolis Clowns, and then obviously we've mentioned him before on the show. And I guess the prospect, I think it was some sort of guess to the prospect or something, but Nate Tellier is or Tellier, however you say, is with the party. He was last with the Party Animals. I don't know if he's still with them or not. I don't remember, but yeah. So there's your farm system frenzy kind of I guess say who he play for version of it. So I'd say overall good job. We had a guy who plays for a team sponsored by 7-Eleven. We have a Dodger who's probably going to win a World Series, in all honesty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to wrap this one up. Hunter, I guess you can add more points to your tally. I don't know how many points you want to add for that, but
I'll only add one. I'll just take the Tyreek Reed point.
Take the Tyreek Reed point. You know what? That's fair. That one's actually fair. With that, though, we are going to wrap it up. For Hunter, my name is Derek. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Pesky Report here on the Minor League Show, and we will see you next time.
Like, this is called the Pesky Report. Like,